Okay, guys, so check this out. I'm here calling all heroes comics again, and my buddy Tate got in a huge collection of action figures from this dude, and he put a video online about it. So Hunter and I came over to scarf up and see what all he had this evening. And of course, I'm broke. So, but Hunter like scrounged up all his money and changed his piggy bank and that. And about how many figures you think you got?
Probably 200, 250 came in. It's crazy.
So I'm gonna put you around the Hunter, and we'll see what he finds here.
On the corner it's empty, yeah. Been here once and now I'm back again. There's a man that I need to see. I need him to buy some beer for me. 16 ain't so easy when you have no place to go. Young girls love to tease me. They're the ones that I need to know. That you have had enough. That you never give up. Something new to quench my thirst. Ain't had enough of being at my worst. There's a girl sitting at the light. Know damn well she'll be mine tonight. 16 ain't so easy when you have no place to go. Young girls love to tease me. They're the ones that I need to know. That you have had enough. That you never give up. Living the life of the underage. In my book, it's just another page. Good times pass right before my eyes. Just wanna have fun and live my life. 16 ain't so easy when you have no place to go. Young girls love to tease me. They're the ones that I need to know. That you have had enough. That you never give up. That you have had enough. That you never give up.
What's going on, everybody? This is Crazy H of Mortal Ring Wars. I'm here today doing a haul video. Recently we visited Calling All Heroes Comics, and the owner, Mr. Tate Griffin, had a new haul, and he just bought a collection from a guy from away. I can't quite remember the place where he got it, but it turned out that a lot of the stuff in the guy's collection was old Star Wars things. Now, I am a huge junkie for old Star Wars collection from 1995 to 2014, right before Disney started taking over Force Awakens. I love collecting that stuff because a lot of the times that's the stuff that I was growing up with when I was collecting. And because I was a kid, I never really had, could do the true value of collecting. So now I'm older and know a little bit more. So I'm now trying to basically go on a toy crusade, if you will, to reclaim all these, nostalgic pieces. So today, Griffin had a ton of stuff. He had some Power of the Force lines, some Phantom Menace, some Attack of the Clones things, but I bought a portion of the Revenge of the Sith action figures that he had, and he had some others there as well, along with a few oddball things and tons of other stuff that was really cool. So make sure to check out that, Calling All Heroes Comics, if you're in the area. So starting off, we have Anakin Skywalker of this line. Of course, I just heard that Hayden Christensen's going to be up at a con up in the New England. I believe it was Connecticut. It was a Connecticut con of some kind. I could be wrong about that, but maybe he'd be worth going up to see. Perhaps we'll discuss a little bit more about his role as Anakin in another video, but yeah, for here, it's not too bad of a figure for, being what it is. And I love the packaging on these guys. Amazing Revenge of the Sith feels, back. I was a little kid whenever Revenge of the Sith came out, like 4 years old, so, of course, my experience with it probably came much later, so, but still, once I got into it, it was great. And next to him, we have Master Yoda with his oddly enough, his Wookiee canon. Like there's a couple figures, like, where he's a re-release, and they always re-release him with his weird Wookiee canon that, I'll even show you on the back. It shows, like, him firing the cannon for some weird reason. Like, he didn't do that in the movie, like, I have no idea why. Also, there's a good idea of the other action figures you can get from the Series 1 of this line. Actually, not a bad line. I mean, it's not that diverse, as all the figures are exclusively from Revenge of the Sith, but still, the ones they chose to do from the movie are pretty cool. And then next to him, we have Mr. Mace Windu. Sam Jackson in all his glory. He's got a lightning effect, so you can basically, the idea is that he can have him being shocked by the Emperor or whatever, if you want to, replay or revisit his disfiguring, if that be your wish, but no, we're just going to leave him in here. And also, I should mention that about the Anakin, he comes with a red lightsaber, which is interesting because he never used it in the movie, even though, despite most people's wishes, and now Luke was stuck, and now Rey is stuck with a lightsaber that has a very dark history to it because of it. But still a nice little, interchangeable hand thing. And then speaking to Anakin again, we now move to Darth Vader. The transition of... I will say, I think Revenge of the Sith has one of the most emotional endings ever. It's probably my least favorite Star Wars movie to watch just because of how depressing it is. Like, I remember one night, I must have fell asleep with the TV on, and I woke up, and it was this scene in Revenge of the Sith where Vader is basically rising up out of his, I don't know what the word is, his, being turned into Vader, basically. And then, there's that music's playing with John Williams, and it's like this real tragic thing. And I'm not going to joke, I sat there like in the early hours of the morning almost crying my eyes out because of how, powerful that ending is. But it's powerful in a good way. So, even though I don't like to watch it for that, because sad movies will, if they make you sad, then, basically that means they're doing their job. Revenge of the Sith, at least the second act of Revenge of the Sith, was a lot of doing that. And then we move on to the Emperor, once he's been, shocked and disfigured, so you can actually put him over here with the Mace Windu and do a little... If I seem to remember in this line, there was also an Emperor figure they released that had him shocking out the lightning like this. And he could, when he did it, he had a lever on his back, his face would go from looking like Palpatine to disfigured like the Emperor, so that was pretty neat effect. And I will tell you, again, as a kid, watching this movie for the first time, the Emperor disfigured scared the living death out of me. I can still remember sitting in a living room and having it on and looking at his face, and I was just horrified of him. I won't even... I'm on the bet I probably even cried. But again, that's what it's kind of meant to do. He's meant to look creepy and menacing, and well, sorry about the pause there. I was catching my breath. He's supposed to be a good villain, He's definitely one of the most enjoyable parts of the prequels for lots of people. And then next to him, we have the sneak preview General Grievous. Again, I thought he was really cool. I mean, he's a little more cool in his first appearances in the original Clone Wars cartoon that was on Cartoon Network years ago between episodes 2 and 3. They made him a lot more of a threat and a lot more intimidating, whereas in later movies, he kind of took on the cowardly, maniacal sort of, but no, in the Clone Wars cartoon, they build him up to be a threat. This guy, could demolish people. He didn't have to flee. He was lethal and, cold. Calculating, as they say. But the sneak preview figure, turn on in the back, he's one of 4 from this movie, so the other ones you got are, Tien Meaden, who is played by a guy who played the Mouth of Sauron in Lord of the Rings, and also was the fire captain, I believe, in Mad Max, the Road Warrior. Then you get a Wookiee Warrior and R4G9, and also a really cool Anakin Starfighter, which we have in our collection room here. Then moving on over here, we get Count Dooku. Now, I think Count Dooku is underrated. I think he's one of the most underrated characters in Star Wars. He's just... I can't really explain why, it's just he doesn't give enough credit. He's played by Christopher Lee. That's a win automatically. He's got this awesome curved lightsaber hilt, the cape, I just like his, sophisticated kind of, poise style. It really contrasted him from Darth Maul, I feel, as a Sith Lord. And, I know it's kind of silly, oh, he's an old guy, he's fighting, a little green puppet, but still, there's something about him. He didn't get to where he was from nothing. He was once a Jedi who... through, not believing what the Jedi were teaching, left, and not only kind of shaped Qui-Gon into the man that he became that we met in Phantom Menace, but also just he's becoming the man we met in Attack of the Clones, with, and here's Oli. Oli. Yeah, he's just curious, seeing what I'm doing in here. But yeah, that's just kind of my personal opinion. It's nothing, I like talking about characters, as you can tell, so. And then speaking of characters who don't get enough credit, we now move on to the Jedi of the Council. The first one here is Agan Kolar. He's probably one of the ones I am not the most interested in, but there's another Zabrak named Eth Koth, who I think is really cool. Most people would know him for episodes 1 and a little bit of 2. There was a whole stupid dispute about, in episode 2 he was on a gunship or something and it crashed, and some people thought he was dead, but he wasn't, and he got brought back, and but worth it. And then Agan Kolar kind of took his place in Revenge of the Sith due to casting reasons, and still meant to be, cunning Zabrak warrior and all that cool stuff. And then second to him, we have Kit Fisto. He's probably one of the fan favorites of the Jedi. Ever since he, in Attack of the Clones, had that nice white crest smile on his face whenever he forced C-3PO to the ground. he just kind of made people love it. It is interesting for Revenge of the Sith, though. They changed his makeup a little bit, and he looks a little scarier here than he did. He looked a lot more friendly in Attack of the Clones, but he's definitely got one of the more interesting and unique designs of the Jedi in Star Wars. And then over here we have Say-Say-10. Now he's one I think we deserve more of Say-Say-10 in some way, shape, or form, like a comic or something, because this guy, like it says on the back, like he's apparently an awesome pilot, and he also has telekinetic abilities, like, or what does it say? I know I get telekinesis and telepathic abilities, excuse me. But he has telepathic abilities. The first time I heard about that, I think, was there was a novelized version of Revenge of the Sith. You know, they do novelized versions of the Star Wars movies, and in it, instead of it being Agen Kolar, the Emperor strikes down first, it's Say-Say-10, because he asks Say-Say-10 something like, "Can you read my mind right now?" And Say-Say, while he's distracted, that's when the Emperor takes out the red blade and slashes him to oblivion. And I find that funny. Like, I have the 3 Jedi that were horribly cut down by the Emperor, right here. It does stink, though. It's like you introduce characters that could have really good potential and are really cool, and then they just, for the sake of larger things, get, killed off. It's in everything, I know. And it only makes things better, but at the same time, it's kind of a shame, And then my final figure to continue and conclude the underrated Jedi section is Luminara Unduli. Not too much to say about her. I liked her a lot in, even though she was in it very, rarely, I liked her a lot in the Clone Wars cartoon, or the animated series. That was one of my fondest memories from growing up, was that show. Of course I was, sad to figure out it was canceled, and then freaking overjoyed whenever I heard that it was being announced and that it was going to be completed at, or was it Con this year, I believe? Yeah. So I was happy to see that. So, yeah, I got a pretty nice haul. Like I said, I love getting this kind of stuff, because it just reminds me of what it felt like to be, like, younger again, and, reminds me of, like, the things I grew up with, and all the, I guess, memories, And I feel like that's one of those things that you can't, take for granted in life, is the stuff that, stays with you. So, yeah, I mean, in terms of figures, I recommend these guys. They're a pretty nice line. What did the Wave 2 say on these? Oh, yeah, there's like 3 or 4 waves of figures, but, here, I'll turn this over, so, sorry, I'll have to turn the screen sideways to see others. Ooh, there's Shakti. She'd be a nice addition. Kiadi Mundi, El Sakura. A couple really good ones in here. You could add to your underrated Jedi collection. Or I could, or whatever. But there were other Revenge of the Sith ones today, too, that he had. Lots of clone troopers, and like a Wookiee, and a few others that I'd hopefully like to pick up next time I stop by, if they're still there. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video. Some nice talking as always about this. Again, highly recommend these figures if you want to get into collecting them. They're really nice. I'm certainly going to enjoy having them in my collection, and I will see you in our next show of Mortal Ring Wars, I guess. And in the words of Palpatine, do it.